You are in for quite a special treat today. My name is Jesse Daniel Amos from New Horizons Learning Group, and we are proud to present this webinar for you. Please allow me to introduce you to your host for the next 30 to 45 minutes, Laura Porreca. Like you, Laura knows the value of engagement and productivity. She is the founder of 7dailyhabits.com with 3 decades of experience in leadership and communication. Laura has partnered with companies like the Swedish Wealth Institute and the College of Southern Nevada, and is now combining forces in a strategic partnership with CLD, a division of New Horizons Learning Group. Laura is a Las Vegas-based speaker, trainer, and business coach, helping companies like yours to move the dial on business growth. Jot down your questions because there will be a Q&A after her presentation, making it easy for you to develop strategies and solutions to achieve your desired results. And not to mention, she's a fabulous singer. So hopefully we get some of that later on today. Thank you, Laura. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Okay, everyone, we are excited that you are here. If you are a manager, a director, an executive, if you lead a sales team, oversee projects, develop new leaders, or lead managers and their departments, or if you just want to develop your leadership abilities, you are in the right place. You can make an impact, increase profits at the same time. So what's not to like about that? It's a 3 win-win-win. All right, so are you satisfied with your status? Let me ask you a few questions. Do you wish that people around you were more productive? And what if there was a way that you could be more influential, better received, and happier? Would that be of interest to you? Type yes in the chat bar if it is.
Getting a lot of yeses.
All right, super fantastic. Okay. So what we want to do, I'm trying to share my screen with you quickly here, is increase employee engagement and productivity, right? So this is critical. If a company is to move the dial and create more revenue, more sales, they need to have engaged employees. And it's critical to the point of we tend to prefer to take a look at what's happening with the customers when really employee engagement is a very underrated but very, very productive way to look at improving your bottom line. All right. So I am Laura Porreca. And if you don't know me, I am a speaker and a coach for CEOs. And here, let me stop sharing my screen. Get you back to me. I am a coach for CEOs, sales team leaders, and entrepreneurs. And like you, I know that personal growth and professional growth are tied, right? If you're going to be a fantastic leader, you need to work on your personal and professional growth. So together it combines to make the winning element. Now, I am National Board Certified for 10 years actually, and I help companies move the dial. We move the dial on business growth by building your leadership teams. So yes, I'm a global speaker. Yes, I am a trainer of trainers, but it hasn't always been that way. You see, in my youth, I had some fails with leadership. I tried to do network marketing, failed at that. Tried another network marketing company, failed at that. When I was a classroom teacher, I was the leader of my team. So I was, excuse me, we need to take a drink of water. I was in charge of my team. I was what is it called? The grade level chairperson. Did a mediocre job at best. But how can I go from that to train the trainer for the 5th largest school district in the United States, a global speaker speaking around the world? How did I make that transition? And today is all about the 3 steps that I think you need to take to transition from just being a regular leader that might be good or considered almost great to a leader that is transformational. And if you're ready for that, get your pens and papers ready because you're going to want to take notes. All right. When I had those setbacks, when I was younger, I would say to myself, every setback is a setup for a comeback. So say that out loud. Every setback is a setup for a comeback. And say this one out loud. I am a victor, never a victim. I am a victor, never a victim, right? Now, I didn't come up with these words. I found them somewhere along the line in my studies. And I hope that you do that too. I hope that you spend time learning from others and just jotting down these affirmations and using them because they help. So if I am a victor, never a victim, and if every setback is a setup for a comeback, then that means I'm going to use those things to learn and improve and become better at my craft. And this is what I want for you too. I want for you to think of these 3 skill sets that I'm going to share with you and think about, will they drive meaningful, lasting results for you that can be measured? So if the things I teach you can drive meaningful, lasting results that can be measured, then this will be a win for you. All right, let's do another little poll. Yes or no? Is it hard to be a great writer and a great speaker? Yes and no. Okay. Yes, yes. Let's face it, folks. It is, generally speaking, difficult for people to write well, and at work, we need to. Our writing represents us. If you do reports, proposals, even emails, your writing represents you. If you speak to groups, even if you speak one-on-one, you are representing yourself with your verbal and your written communication. So it really matters. And I want you to be thinking about this foundational phrase that I'm going to share with you. It's not your natural ability, it's boosting your agility. Think about that. What is agility? It's the ability to think and understand quickly and easily. If you can boost that, if you decide to be a continual learner and on your path, you're constantly learning and growing, then you will, my friend, be able to have this shift that you are looking for. So say that out loud and write it down. It is not natural ability, it's boosting your agility. We all know that leader that's just naturally or appears to be naturally that way. But the truth is, while you may have some natural talent, those that have risen to the top have worked on it. They have decided to be a lifelong learner, and they have boosted their ability to react or think on their feet and come up with positive solutions in the moment. And I want that for you too. All right, so in order for you to have that, I want you to think of, you're on a road. Think of it like this. You're on a road. And on that road, you know, you want to build your influence. You want to improve your teams. You want to create more revenue, right? These are the 3 top things that people I work with want. They want a better influence on others. They want to improve those around them. And they need to create more money. The bottom line is to create more revenue. So picture yourself, you're driving on a road, and the road is curvy, and it has 2 things that can set you back. One is potholes. When there are potholes, what happens? There's a pothole, and it means that there's something missing, and it interferes with your smooth ride. So think of potholes as missing information. What skill, what information, what is it missing that you need to fill in so you can have a smooth ride? And then also roadblocks. There could be something in the way of the road, something preventing you from reaching your goal. What things are in the way, stopping you from getting to your goal? Maybe it's mindset. Maybe you have a strong opinion about something that's incorrect. You know, when people often start to tell me things that they can't do, I can't do it because of A, B, and C, I say to them, draw a T-shaped chart on your paper. And on one side, write why I can't, and on the other side, write how I will. And as soon as they're done doing that, I have them put a big X on the side that says why I can't. And I say, we shall not even entertain that. We are going to talk about how we will, not why we can't. All right? So it's not natural ability. It's boosting your agility. Let's get better at thinking, critical thinking, creativity, innovation. Those are the things that the companies that are rising the fastest use. Now, if you get this wrong, you'll be on a treadmill day in and day out, mediocre at best, maybe great, maybe good, not even great. But if you get this right, you will powerfully connect. You will have less stress, better results. And if you're in sales, that means more money, people trusting you and getting the yes. If that's something that's important to you, type yes in the chat bar. Let's see who's paying attention. And okay, great. And now what we're going to do is it boils down to 3 roadmaps. So we're going to talk about written communication, verbal communication, and transformational leadership. So let's start with written communication. Now, how good are you when it comes to writing? Think about it. Think about your ability to write. How good are you when it comes to writing? On a scale of 1 to 10, what are you? When someone says, okay, here, get this proposal done, or fill out this report, do you think, or do you say, I can handle that? All right, okay. Now, to move the dial from 6, 7, or 8 to a 9 or a 10, it's about the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. And Jesse, that's for you, because you said you wanted to hear me sing.
I love it. Thank you.
And by the way, I am the hashtag acapella speaker. If you want to look me up on any medium, that's where I am, usually on social media. So it's about the bare necessities. So let's take a quick look at, and you can take a picture of this screen if you like to. We're going to, I'm having a hard time getting to the next screen. Hold on. Give me a minute. We're stuck on this screen. But it's a good screen to be on. It's not natural ability, it's boosting your agility. So let's see if we can get, while we're stuck on that screen, if we can get to the next screen.
And I just wanted to let everybody know that we'll send the recording out to everybody who is attending, and anybody that registered that wasn't able to attend, we'll make sure we get those into your boxes too. If you'd like to share this afterwards, we'll also be sending out the link so that you can share this with coworkers and friends and family on social media or via email.
Okay, here we go. So this is what I want you to take a look at here. A written communication roadmap. Now, I told you it's about the bare necessities, ABC. Write this down on a little sticky note and put it next to your computer, and every employee that you work with, every team member, have them do the same. Write ABC. It's as easy as your ABCs. Accuracy, brevity, clarity. Say those 3 words aloud so you'll remember them. Accuracy, brevity, clarity. You need to be accurate in what you write. People want to know, what is your true intention? Let them accurately know what your message is. Brevity, go back and look at it and take out the part that doesn't matter. We tend to overwrite. We tend to overspeak. We tend to give too much information, and it needs to be clear and brief and accurate. So, and then the final one is clarity. Are you saying what you really mean to say, or is it so jumbled up? Are your sentences so long that by the time they get to the end of the sentence, they forget what the beginning of the sentence was? Has that ever happened to you when you're reading a book? You get to the end of a paragraph and you're like, what did I read? It wasn't clear. Now, it could be because you're thinking of other things, but generally it's because the sentences are too wordy. You need accuracy, brevity, and clarity. Now let's take a look at the writing process, because this also is about the bare necessities. You know, teaching elementary school was so critically helpful for me because I learned the basic beginning structure that everyone needs to know and that we forget, or maybe we were absent that day in school and we didn't learn it. So the writing process consists of these 6 things. Take a screenshot, save this for later. Brainstorming. This is the part that you do before you write. You think. The first thing you do when you're going to write is think. What is your objective? What do you mean to say? Who is your audience? This is when you do your research. You do your fact finding, maybe interview someone. Do the background to get you ready. And you can use a piece of paper while you're doing this and maybe draw a little map. We've got lots of thinking maps. Google that. Google images of thinking maps. You will thank me later. There are a gazillion thinking maps for all different types of thinking you need to do to get your thoughts out of your mind and onto the paper. Then you write your first draft. Now, when I taught college classes, my students thought that was it. And I would say, when you think you're done, you've just begun. Because the first draft is just what it is, a first draft. Step 3, revise. People get this confused with editing. Do you know the difference? Revising is changing for the ideas, the thoughts. So you want to step away from your work after you have done your first draft. Let's say you're writing a proposal. You did all this work of researching. You're doing your first draft, and then you go away from it. Eat something, go to sleep, do something that shifts your mind from it so that when you come back, you've got fresh eyes. You'll be able to see, oh, wait, that part wasn't clear. Oh, hold on, let me move this to another paragraph. Oh, I forgot to include X, Y, and Z. Revising is very critical in your writing. And then editing. Editing is when you care about the spelling, punctuation, capitalization, all that stuff. That is your conventions. That is editing. That, if you're lucky enough to have an editor, is what the editor does. If you're not that good with your spelling and your grammar and stuff, I work with a speaker from South Africa, and a lot of times I help him edit his work because he knows he doesn't know what he doesn't know. And he knows his grammar might be poor, so I always look over his work before he turns it in or writes his book. And it's very, very helpful to have someone else take their fresh eyes to look at it for editing. You can also do that in the revising stage. You can say, let me read this to you or read this and tell me what you think. When you get a perspective from others, it helps you recognize, oh, I didn't think of that. Oh, that part's unclear. All right, final draft and then publishing. Publishing, it could be writing a book, could be publishing an article, a blog, or even a very critical paper that you need to turn in at work, or maybe to get a bid, or for whatever it is. Publishing is the last step. All right, how are we doing on time? Pretty good?
Yep,
How you feeling?
6:17.
Okay, great. All right, so writing is important. It's critical. And the better you get at writing, the better you will do with your job, unless there's a rare occasion that you have the type of job that you don't need to write. Now, even a speaker like myself has to write. We write the beginning of our speech, the ending of our speech. Some people write their whole speech. So writing is critical in all jobs almost, even if you think that it isn't. Let's see, if we have more time later, ask me about the writing traits, because if you want to go from great to excellent, extreme, fantastic writing, there are definitely bare necessities, right? The beginnings of how to make sure your writing is absolutely fantastic. So here's an example for that. I'll just tell you what the 7 things are. And if we have time at the end, we can go through the writing traits. Number 1, organization. How is your writing organized? Always have a plan, a structure within which you are writing. Ideas. Are the ideas worth sharing? Have you developed your ideas? Number 3, voice. If someone were to read it, would they know it was yours without your name on it? Yes, good writers have a voice. They speak with a voice and they write with a voice, and you can hear it. It is your style, your personality coming through. It's like when the teacher says, don't put your name on your paper, but you're like, oh no, she'll know it's mine anyway. Not by your handwriting if you type it, but because she can hear your voice. That means you are a good writer. Conventions, that is like when you edit, that's the spelling, punctuation, grammar, all of that. Presentation, how are you presenting it? If you're speaking to a group, is it on a slideshow? Is that presented well? If it is in writing, how does it look to the person who is reading it, to the audience? How is it presented? You know, I remember a movie called Legally Blonde where she had her resume and it was like a pale pink paper with, she sprayed it with perfume. She was worried about presentation, and it matters. It makes you distinct and different from everyone else if you do something like that. Now, I'm not saying to copy her. I'm saying come up with your own distinction. You know, one of my speaker pals, his whole talk is about distinction. He says, if you're going to separate yourself from everyone else in the crowded field that you are in, you need to be distinct. What is different about you? Celebrate that. For me as a speaker, a cappella speaker, I have this gift of coming up with a line from a song for any topic we're talking about. And I do it a cappella. I do not need music in the background. When I'm doing trainings and coaching, they know me as #communication=wealth, because I specifically repeat over and over the value of communication. It equals wealth. The more you communicate and the better, the more wealthy you will be. All right, so let's get into number 2, presentation skills. And that was a perfect segue because we write a little when we are busy doing our speaking. First, we must write. So presentation skills, you're going to want a strong structure. How have you structured your speech? Let's say you're presenting in a boardroom to 5 or 6 people, or a big presentation. It really doesn't matter. You want to have a similar structure, and you want to have a strong opening. So how do you open? Do you open with a story? Remember, stories are sticky. People remember them. You'll want to learn to tell good stories. I coach people to tell good stories because stories are sticky and it helps get your message across. Now, in your audience, if you have an average audience, 1 in 4 will be someone who really cares about statistics and numbers and information that's backed up by research. So you might want to include that kind of information. But in your strong opening, how about starting with a question? Did you notice I started with questions? Start with a question or stories, something that catches people's attention. You want your opening to be different. One of the people I coached started his opening with silence. He walked up on the stage in a crowded room. This was maybe 600 or 800 people in the audience. They were tired from listening to other speakers. It was late in the day, and he walked up on the stage and stood there in silence. The seconds ticked on. People thought, did he forget what he was going to say? What's going on? He had everyone's attention in a matter of 12 or 15 seconds, which felt like an eternity, but it worked. He captured their attention. He broke their preoccupation. They were no longer preoccupied with anything else. They were paying attention to him and what he had to say. And that was a great way to start. That was a strong opening. All right. Next, you want a foundational phrase. Write this down, 9 words or less. Actually, you can take a picture of the screen. 9 words or less, memorable, repeatable, could have some rhyme in there or some rhythm to it. So you want to have a foundational phrase. So what is mine? Type in the chat bar, what is my foundational phrase for this webinar?
Laura, could we get the slide up for presentation?
Yes. I want them to see if they can remember what it is. So if they put it, okay. You should have, this is written communication, but you should have typed in the chat box, it's not natural ability, it's boosting your agility. So that is our foundational phrase. So come up with one in your live presentations. You have a structure for a strong opening. You're repeating a memorable foundational phrase. And then you want to have a strong close with a call to action. So remember I said communication is not a straight line, it is a circle. So I don't know if I've even said that yet, but that's one of the things I say very often. Communication is a circle, not a straight line. So you need to have, when you're writing, you want to have a paragraph that starts with a topic sentence, tells what you're talking about. When you write emails, this is very important. And then your details, and then your closing statement, it makes it more of a circle than a straight line. So similarly with your presentations, you have a strong opening, then you have your content, and then you have a strong close. It could tie back into what you spoke about in the beginning. If it's a story, it could be the end of the story. It could tie back to your questions that you posed, maybe reiterate them and answer, or it could be anything that is strong and memorable. People remember the beginning and the end. So what is your call to action? Do not end with a Q&A. I'll say that again. Do not end with a Q&A. That's like reading a book and you get to the climax and then it's like, you do not want that. You can have your Q&A, but then come back for your strong close. Boom, you've given them that powerful image in their mind and they are able to close on that and remember you better. So with that being said, we've kind of talked a lot about written communication, and now we've talked a little bit about live presentation, and I could teach, actually I do teach a 3-day course on this. At the end of the webinar, you are welcome to reach out to me or anyone on our sales team, our sales leaders. They can help you with deciding what might be best for your company. We have a 3-day presentation skills course. We have a 2-day writing course, which can be shortened into 1 if you just need a little shaping up. And we also have Transformational Leadership, which is 2 days, 2-day course. All right, so you've learned a little bit about presentations. You feel a little better about your writing. You feel a little better about your ability to have a good presentation with a memorable phrase that people can repeat that makes you stand out from the crowd, and a strong close, a call to action. That means having them do something. You want them to leave the presentation with something to do. You know, they say in life, the most important things is someone to spend it with and something to do, right? So at the end of your closing, you want to say, here's what I want you to do. Here is your next step. All right, now let's talk about transformational leadership. Oh my goodness, here is a little known secret. Those that I work with that make 6 figures and 7 figures, little known fact, all have more than one mentor or coach. Now, you might not know what the difference is between a mentor and a coach, so I will tell you. A mentor is someone who's been where you are, who knows the pitfalls, the things that can happen, and is willing to help you when that comes, before you get into that situation. They know the pitfalls, they've been there, they can help you along the way. You kind of model their behavior. A coach, on the other hand, helps you to clarify your thinking. They recognize that you have most of the answers already within you. It's just about drawing them out. It's about creating a roadmap without the pitfalls of having, your tire go into a rut or boulders in front of you. And they are able to help you come up with what your goals are, how you might get there, what might come along the way to interfere, and how you can overcome those objections. So a coach is a little different. Now, you could have a mentor coach like me. I tend to do both very often. But you need someone in general that can help you come from being a regular leader, someone that's more into control or management, to a transformational leader. And so I gave a few examples here on the slide. From problem-oriented to solution-oriented. So a manager or a small leader or even an average leader tends to focus on the problem. Oh, here's what the problem is. Let's dwell on the problem. But what does a transformational leader do? They focus on the solution. The only way to really find this out is to be around transformational leaders, to read about them, to research them, and to have one as your mentor or coach, because you start to see the way they think, and you are able to emulate that, and that puts you in that category. Solution-oriented. Remember I said about the T-chart? Not why I can't, but how I will. You immediately go to how you can solve the problem. From giving directions to allowing choice. Now, often when you join a company or a group, you want to learn their system, and you are expected to really fit in, right? You're expected, they set a standard, you're expected to adapt that culture. And if you hire people that have the same values, then it's easier because they already are in agreement, and it's easy for them to adapt to your culture. But what about, like on really good sports teams, when they bring in really good talent? Are they expecting the talent to suddenly, okay, it's time for you to follow these rules and stay within this framework? No, not so fast. The transformational leaders take their skill sets and talents and find a synergy in the group where they're able to use what they have, and it makes the group better and stronger, allowing choice. And my friends, this is not just for the elite or for the extreme sports teams or the Olympics. This can be for a second grade classroom. You can allow the children to read whatever book they choose within a framework, allowing choice. All right, next is separation to connection. I already told you communication equals wealth, and that the companies and the leaders that have poor communication are the ones that don't make as much money, and those that have open communication lines, they allow for, they give feedback, they allow you to vent if you have a negative comment. You might even have a box where you can put stuff in anonymously, it doesn't matter. They allow for that. They actually promote connection and communication among their people. These are the companies that have happy hour for their people. Why? They want you to communicate and get along and have each other's back and trust each other and be supportive. Separation is when they say, okay, you go in your cubbyhole and do your work, and you go do yours, and you're not supposed to help each other. How is that productive? That is a mindset that will not get you anywhere. And if you get the right mentor or coach, you can move from that kind of mindset to the mindset that allows for connection, collaboration, and constructive, creative innovation. And then finally, from effort-based to experiential, this is the hardest shift of the 4. We tend to think effort is what matters. And indeed, when you were in elementary school, you may have gotten a grade for your academics and a grade for effort. Oh, he tried so hard, he gets an A for effort. Guess what? Trying really hard does not correlate with doing well. I'll say that again. Trying really hard does not have a direct correlation with doing well, achieving your goals, creating a great income, or a great team spirit. Effort can only get you so far, and as a matter of fact, sometimes effort can be destructive. Stay with me here. Compared to experiential, we're going to talk about experience-based leadership compared to effort-based. Effort-based is work harder, work faster. Experiential is we're in the moment, we're going with the flow, we're learning together as we go, and there's a synergy to that, and you're able to innovate and create together on the fly. When you get to this level, you will never go back. You will never work for a boss that is effort-based. You will never be a boss who is effort-based. You will switch to that experiential, synergistic way of leadership. All right, if you want to discover how you can set yourself apart as a better leader, there are things you can do. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Laura Porreca, and you will find my latest article is things you can do that set you apart as a leader. Read through those and decide which ones are easiest for you to do. Go ahead and take that on as a project for yourself if you want to be seen as a leader in your space. All right. We talked about 3 important things. We talked about writing, we talked about speaking, and then we talked about transformational leadership. And now it's your turn to think of some questions you might have, and then I will close with a very strong close to help illustrate, to help illustrate what I was saying about your presentations. You will have a strong close, okay? Because we want you to succeed. Here in this webinar, taking courses from us, inviting me to come be your keynote speaker, we want you to succeed. Have me come and coach. Group coaching is a great way to do it. Lots of leadership teams do that. It keeps them accountable, number 1. Number 2, it keeps them productive. And number 3, it creates that synergy and that connection among the team. All right, we want peace of mind. We want profitability. We want to develop our leaders. So let's come up with some really good questions, and I will answer them in the next 5 or 10 minutes and then give you a strong close and send you on your way to have a fantastic rest of your day. Jesse, what are our questions?
We did have one come in from Bill earlier, and I know we were left on the edge of our seat. The 7 communication things, I believe. You had presentations. You talked about the way that the grammar is spelt and everything.
Okay.
You left us hanging with 2. So if you could repeat those 7 again.
Okay.
Bill was excited to see that.
Okay, great. The writing traits. If you read good literature or good nonfiction, you have a sense for good writing. And that's why I always tell people, you want to be a good writer, read more. You want to be a good reader, write more. You want to be a good speaker, listen more. You want to be a good listener, speak more. The 4 are intertwined. They are the language arts. Now, these writing traits are critical if you want to take it to that top level. So if you're ready, get your pens out. Number 1, organization. How do you organize the piece? So for an email, it just might be as simple as, oh, Laura said communication is a circle, so I will use the paragraph form of topic sentence, supporting details, and a closing statement. That could be the way you organize an email. Maybe in a proposal or a report, yeah, you can have, your company may have a form that they expect you to use, or you can Google and find forms. Remember I told you to Google mind maps to help you with brainstorming? Lots of help on the internet. You should really use Google. Google is your friend. Ask it, Google anything. Ideas is number 2. And they're not in any special order here. Ideas. Before you start to write, make sure you brainstorm. What good ideas am I sharing? If you're sharing ideas that are old, worn out, not trendy or important, or Actually, controversial is good too, because people tend to go with the flow, go with the herd. And you may say something like, you know what? Yeah, Sheryl Sandberg says to lean in, but I don't agree. What? Everyone's looking all of a sudden. What do you mean you don't agree with leaning in? Us women, we need to lean in. And suddenly you've captured their attention. Then you explain why you said that. You have an idea. People want you to think. You know, most of the population doesn't think. They say like, I don't know, 80% of the population doesn't think. They get up, they go to work. On their way home, they stop by 7-Eleven, pick up a 6-pack of beer, get home, watch TV, go to bed. Guess what they do the next day? Get up, go to work. I'll go home from work, stop off, blah, 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 repeat, repeat, repeat. Most of the population doesn't think, 80%. And then another like 17% thinks that they think. They say, I'm a thinker. Oh yes, I'm a thought leader. You're like, what thoughts have you had? Are you a thought repeater or are you a thought leader, right? And yes, in the beginning, you're repeating other people's thoughts, but at some point, if you can't come up with any creative ideas of your own, you're not a thinker. So 17% are thinking that they think. So 3% of the population really think. 17% think that they think, and the other 80% would rather die than think. Applause here. And by the way, when you are presenting, don't step on the laugh. Stand, wait, pause, allow people to laugh. It's good. It helps with connection. I wish I had more time, and I will if you hire us, if you hire me to come in and speak about, to help do a training about your presentation skills, because boy, that really helps when you're able to say something funny, not even a joke, just say something that makes people laugh, then stop, wait, and allow them to get it, to process it, and to laugh. Don't step on the laugh. All right, we talked about organization, ideas, voice. Voice is, we can tell it was you. It sounds like you. You have a personality and it comes out in your writing. Conventions. That is where we edit. That is where we care about spelling, capitalization, punctuation. Here's what happens. My friend whose second language, I told you he's from South Africa, when he writes, he's very, very intelligent. But if people read his writing and see grammar mistakes, what do they think? Their natural inclination is to think he's stupid, he's uneducated. Not true. Educated in another country with 2 other languages. So you want to make sure that your conventions are right on. So have somebody edit. Presentation, how do you present it? My example was from Legally Blonde, where she put a little spray on there, had a beautiful colored paper, maybe a few little doodaddy flowers or whatever. Presentation matters. Turning in your paper when you're in school with all that it's been torn out from a notebook and there's those little pieces of paper frayed at the end. When I was a college professor, oh no, you better I had a pair of scissors handy. You better go to the trash can and cut that off because I will not allow you to present it in that fashion. Why do all that work and have poor presentation? It sends a message. People judge. Do we want that? No. Does it happen? Yes. So don't allow that. Dress the part, look the part, sound the part, write the part. Do your best with presentation. These next 2 can make or break your writing. Sentence fluency, write it down because it's not in the slides. Sentence fluency, how do your sentences flow? Again, if you're a good reader, you've read enough to have a good feel for how to write. Maybe suddenly a short sentence right in the middle, 2 words, and then a longer sentence. And then when you're doing your revising, you look back and say, wait a minute, I got too many long sentences. Remember ABC, accuracy, brevity, clarity. I got to be more clear. Going to cut some of these sentences in half, make them obviously a real sentence, a complete sentence, but not a run-on sentence. And so sentence fluency matters. Does your piece have a point where it picks up and it gets a little faster? Is there a part where the person who's reading can slow down? And then finally, word choice. I teach people in the writing course to have a piece of paper next to their computer with good, strong words for their industry. When I'm working with salespeople, we often need a luxury list, luxury words, words that people can use that make them feel just richer. You want to have a list of good words. I remember when I was in 3rd grade, I turned in a piece of writing and my teacher was so sweet. She said, honey, go back to your seat and count the times you used the word then. And I walked back to my seat with my paper, and every sentence began with then. I did this, then I did that, then this happened, then I went over here. And I realized I had written then 7 times. Now I could find better word choice than that, couldn't I? I could find words that stick in people's mind, picture words, the 5 senses, you know, words that elicit emotion. When we tell stories, we elicit emotion. When I was younger, I used to put on makeup, and my sister would say, just sit there adoringly in the bathroom watching me. Oh, she's putting on makeup. Oh, she's so, you know, grown up. And then when we both grow up and we were in our 20s, she was an actress and a model, and she'd say, Laura, less is more. And from then on, I always put on less makeup because I remember what a good word choice. And by the way, it's a foundational phrase. Less is more. Put on less makeup and you get more of a result. So word choice is critical in your writing. So let's say them again. Organization, ideas, voice, conventions, presentation, sentence fluency, and word choice. Now, I'm going to show you our last screen because we definitely want to make sure that you have a way to get a hold of us. Schedule a 15-minute call with me. Go to New Horizons Learning Group and talk with a salesperson. Find out how you can find more. You can connect with me on Twitter and Instagram. And like I said, I hope you've already connected with me on LinkedIn. Read my posts and articles. They will help you. We all want to be better at our written and verbal and developing leadership skills. We need to be better because we know that we're lifelong learners, right? Just like my little sister when she was 10 years old, and I would give her a ride to this big warehouse. She was a fitting model to try on clothes for Vidal Sassoon. She would stand there, they would try the clothes on her, and her little body was a perfect size for all their clothing for that size. So that's called a fitting model. So I remember dropping her off, and Vidal Sassoon had in big words up on the top of the warehouse, Vidal Sassoon, if you don't look good, we don't look good. Again, a foundational phrase. And when I would teach people, when I do teach management teams, I say to them, your team is important to you. And if they don't look good, you don't look good. Think about that. You want your team to look great. It makes you look great. So in closing, listen, we all want to make more money, have less stress, and show up in the world in a way that presents ourselves to make a difference. I hope this webinar has made a difference for you. I hope that you follow us and that we have just now started a relationship that will be lifelong. And with that, we are exactly 1 minute over. We promised you 45 minutes. We're on minute 46. So I'd like to close by saying, listen, everybody, it is you that makes the difference. And less is more. Choose something that you have learned. Let that be your call to action. Something that resonates with you, do that. Don't try to do everything. Do the 1 or 2 things that stands out, because less is more. And you can develop yourself, as we said earlier. It's not about natural ability. It's about boosting your agility. Thank you, everyone, for being here.